To the top story of the morning. After 2 years of allegations from the President of the United States and members of Congress about wiretaps and spies, yesterday, the nation's top law enforcement officer joined in to accuse the United States government of what he called spying on the Trump campaign in 2016.
Oh, come on.
This despite lengthy declassification battles uncovering surveillance warrants against one Trump foreign policy advisor, Carter Page, after he left the campaign. But Attorney General William Barr told the Senate he needs to explore the issue.
I think spying on a political campaign is a big deal. It's a big deal. There are a lot of rules put in place to make sure that there's an adequate basis before our law enforcement agencies get involved in political surveillance. I'm not suggesting that those rules were violated, but I think it's important to look at that. And I'm not talking about the FBI necessarily, but intelligence agencies more broadly.
So you're not suggesting, though, that spying occurred?
I don't. I guess you could. I think spying did occur. Yes, I think spying did occur.
Have you any evidence that there was anything improper in those investigations?
I have no specific evidence that I would cite right now. I do have questions about it.
I think when the Attorney General of the United States uses the word spying, it's rather provocative and, in my view, unnecessarily inflammatory. Do you want to rephrase what you're doing? Because I think the word spying could cause everybody in the cable news ecosystem to freak out. And I think it's necessary for you to be precise with your language here. You normally are, and I want to give you a chance to be especially precise here.
I'm not sure of all the connotations of that word that you're referring to, but, unauthorized surveillance. I want to make sure there was no unauthorized surveillance.
Okay, thank you.
Is that more appropriate in your mind?
Someone's been trumped.
So Mike, so early, I said last week, and I think it's caught on, that Donald Trump wanted his Roy Cohn. He got his Roy Cohn. Except you can tell Barr doesn't really feel it like Roy Cohn did. And so that's why he got halfway out and then, started running back to shore. Wasn't going to wrestle that alligator like Terry McAuliffe would have. But he makes an outrageous claim that Roy Cohn would make. The spying claim. After, again, we all know about Carter Page and the FISA warrants, and we all know who FISA judges. We don't know exactly who they are. We know they're the best and the brightest and the most careful. And we know there have been, 4 or 5 FISA judges that supported this warrant. He knows that what he's saying is unbelievably reckless, and you can almost see in his mind Barr going, okay, how do I answer this question so Trump doesn't tweet at me, so I keep my job, but still not make a jackass of myself for life?
That's tough.
That's tough. Like at the beginning, he was
Well, you better rethink it.
Yeah, at the beginning, he was really making a fool of himself, humiliating himself. And then he started to clean it up a little bit more at the end, saying, well, wait, I don't have evidence of spying, but I'm going to look into it. Because it's very interesting. It's very Trumpian to, first of all, put out a summary and make conclusions that is doing the president's bidding, the type of summary that Roy Cohn would put out. And then when people are onto you and you have to release that summary, now you throw more meat to the Trump ecosystem.
Well, I mean, Bill Barr has become the gift that keeps on giving for Donald Trump. Here's the headline of the day in the Washington Post. Yeah. This is the headline that they've been waiting for in the White House. Headline reads, I don't know whether you can see it close up, Barr thinks U.S. spied on Trump. Yeah. I spoke yesterday with 2 people who have known Bill Barr for 30 years. They are stunned. at his verbal behavior over the past 2 weeks, up to and including yesterday, but specifically the gratuitous interpretation that he quickly put on the Mueller report without a conversation, apparently, with Bob Mueller before he made that statement, basically clearing the president.
By the way, can I just say, this is what judges would call dicta. He draws a conclusion that is meaningless, just words, because he himself has said that Donald Trump can't get indicted, a president can't get indicted, and if that's the case, then your job, Mr. Attorney General, is to do what Mueller wanted him to do. Pass it on to Congress, but he wanted to poison the well. He wanted right-wing talkers to go out and blab for the last 3 weeks and make fools of themselves. Oh, he told you so, he told you so, before the report comes out. Now the report's coming out. He's thrown more red meat, which they just can't help taking. And they're making fools of themselves again. In fact, they did the first half of the meeting, and then they had to back off by the end of the hearings.
But in their terms, and I'm talking about the Trump political apparatus now, in their terms, on their grounds, it's working. And this only adds to its effectiveness.
It is, Willie, as Meacham would love to say, after getting through, of course, the 12 causes for the French-Indian War and how it still impacts grocery store choices today.
By the way, yesterday he went deep on Yalta. Out of
Did he? I love Yalta.
Hard left.
All about it.
I wish I'd been there.
I still don't know what context.
What did he say?
I don't even know. It's just Meacham. He says Yalta, and he goes,
Yalta, Yalta, Yalta.
Smart. He strokes his chin.
So anyway, and I've been thrown off by Yalta. But as Meacham would say, this is a strong starter. It's a weak finisher. Like, again, these people do not think that there's such thing as videotape. They do not think there's an end to all of this. Donald Trump may get away with this 12 months away from a campaign, but the 30-second ads are going to be vicious, just using his own words. And this is just what Barr is doing. It's all going to be shouted from the mountaintops. He's just making a fool of himself. He should talk to Kirstjen Nielsen. He should talk to Mattis. He should talk to Rex Tillerson. He should talk to them all to see how this ends.
There were two headlines that the Trump administration loves over the 2 weeks prior. One is no collusion. He says, coming out of the Mueller report, we haven't seen that yet. And the other is yesterday, that the U.S. spied on the campaign. Now, you would like to think, you understand why Donald Trump says no collusion? You'd like to think the Attorney General of the United States would sort of be a brick wall and a barrier to letting that kind of thing cross into the public space. But here we are, Ken Delanian. And if you read, not full walkbacks, but all the pieces this morning, and I'm sure some of your reporting, there have been clarifications, really, from the Attorney General, people close to him, anonymous sources saying, the Attorney General views spying and surveillance as one and the same, and that he didn't mean to suggest that something had happened, only that he wanted to look into what happened. But that cat is now out of the bag. He said what he said yesterday, which is, quote, I think spying did occur.
That's right, Willie. And to be clear, spying is a crime. Spying is what the CIA pays agents to do in foreign countries. When the FBI catches spies in the United States, they go to prison. And Bill Barr knows that. And what he did was reckless at best, and at worst, though, it was really sort of throwing red meat to these Republican conspiracy theories. And by the way, it's a large percentage of the Republican Party that really believes something was rotten at the heart of this Mueller investigation. And the evidence for the fact that Barr was going in that direction was, just before Barr sat down on Capitol Hill yesterday, Donald Trump stood on the White House lawn and made utterly inflammatory, his most inflammatory comments to date about the investigation, calling it illegal, calling it a coup, saying essentially it bordered on treason. He slandered the entire FBI. And
wait, but Ken, didn't he say after the letter came out that Mueller was honorable? Right. Didn't he say it was? I'm confused.
That lasted about a week.
So Ken, they know what's coming. They know that the letter was a Roy Cohn cleanup job. They know that they're about to get blindsided again. So now the AG throws this red meat out. Okay, yeah, I really wasn't accurate about that stuff, but while they're paying attention to that,
shiny penny,
let's start a new controversy.
Object.
And he said, the AG said there were failures at the upper echelon of the FBI. And by doing that, he preempted the report of the independent inspector general who's looking into this stuff, because there are legitimate questions. Look, there were some FBI agents that sent some inflammatory texts. They were bounced off the investigation. You know, there's the role of Andrew McCabe, who is no friend of Trump. Fine, there's legitimate questions here that need to be answered. The inspector general is doing that. His report is due out in a few weeks. All Barr had to do was say, it's under investigation. I'm going to have that review. Instead, he prejudged the review. He was clearly throwing a bone.
And by the way, Ken, the Inspector General at the Justice Department is a straight shooter, has been a straight shooter. Barr knows that. Barr knows that he was stepping on him. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.